Isn't it though skewed to Indians abroad? That's one of the things we keep hearing, is that it's actually the Indians who live abroad who are watching. It's, Indian content really hasn't crossed over or done what Squid Games did for Korean, or so many other things have done. But Indian content, has it really traversed to
Dhurandhar was the most watched non-English movie in the world. I'm sorry, so why am I saying it wrong? I've been saying it all week. Dhurandhar. Sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah. Apologies. Yeah. But that is the most watched non-English movie in the world on Netflix this year.
Okay.
So bigger than every other language, and second only to the US and the UK in terms of watching.
Okay, super. I'm going to go one step before we get into India.
I think that really is kind of worth really hanging in for a second.
Yeah.
Because I think I hear a lot when I travel around the world, particularly in India, is because of what happened with Squid Game or what happened with La Casa de Papel. When is India going to have that moment? And I'd say, India has that moment all the time. And it's much more likely to be in cinema, I think, right now, because there's this enormous, beautiful, rich, long history of movies in India. And I think when we came in and made Sacred Games, it was a kind of a whole different kind of television. So it's where most of the history and all that's coming through is likely to come through in the form of cinema.
Okay. Yesterday we were at a small dinner.
Dhurandhar, how did I not get that?
I'm sure you're excused for that, because they've done really well. I mean, they've just changed the whole game here. No, but yesterday we were at a small dinner, and there were a lot of parliamentarians, and I think the one refrain that they kept giving to you was, tell more Indian stories and, get more of India stories out there. And something very special about India is that, we have always been a country of ideas. There was a Sanskritization of all of South Asia that happened from Kandahar to Singapore, Gandhara, Singapura. All of this happened only on ideas, never on any military conquest. So there's always this DNA that's kind of pushing for our stories. And, you pick up any newspaper, the best one is Indian Express, but you pick up any,
but first one you check.
The first one you check. Yeah. You pick up any newspaper, I always feel there are like 3 Netflix films in the paper today, almost every films or series, almost every day, which it's just, there's so much of richness and so much of hierarchy, there's so many changing dynamics, there's just so much of color here so many stories to explore. So have you scratched the surface in India? How happy are you in terms of how deep you've gone here?
Well, look, we're thrilled with our success in India to date. We've been at it for 10 years, still growing every year, every month, every quarter. And I look at it, what we have to do is have the stories that you love. If it's a film, if it's a series, if it's unscripted, if it's scripted, everything that you're used to watching when you sit down and with your family, turn on the TV, you're ready to watch. So what we have to do is continue to do that. And with a population this size, with a population that is an enormous appetite for entertainment. This is what I love. This is one of the great storytelling cultures in the world. So being able to, I'm constantly learning about India. So I've never, believe me, I speak with no authority here, especially with this incredible audience. But what I know is that it's dramatically underscreened, meaning there are fewer movie theater screens per person than any country in the world, and the country with the biggest appetite to see movies. So the beautiful thing is we're living in a time where we can solve that problem with screens like that, and screens like this, and all kinds of screens that we can tell those stories to audiences that want them and otherwise didn't have access to them. Right. We know that this is a long journey. India is a long journey, and every time I think we crack the code, we keep challenging ourselves to do better and to do bigger. We're very proud that we brought India the first Academy Award for Elephant Whispers, and it's very strange, I think, to do this in the same company, to also win the international
Emmy.
The international Emmy, be nominated a couple of times actually. Veer Das, the great Indian comedian, for one, and for Delhi Crime. But also to win for Best Hindi Film at the National Awards as well. Yeah. All under one roof. So that's a hard thing to do, but Monica and her team, the content team at Netflix here in India, is the reason that can work. Because when we decided we wanted to be in India, I think many American companies particularly have failed at this because They think that they come in and they think they understand India because they made a movie that worked. And turns out there's a lot more than one India. But multiple, so even to be successful local, you have to travel just across India.
Yeah.
And if you could do that, you could probably travel across the world. But we have to do it by coming back over and over and over again and doing that over and over again. And we don't do that from California.
Okay.
We do that from Mumbai. So for us, I think it is that intense desire to be deeply ingrained with the entertainment community, the entertainment ecosystem, and the entertainment economy of India, but most importantly with the entertainment fans of India.
Right.
And we have to do that with Indians. So that's what our office in India, these are people, a couple hundred people who love Indian movies and television more than anyone in the world.
And how do you actually do that? Like, if we unpack that process from your perspective, because it's so complicated to run a production house only in India by Indians in itself. Now, you're doing a global operation. You've got an Indian office in India. You've got offices like that in every other market that you're operating in. How much of it is a formula? Is there an algorithm? Is it some kind of a secret thing that goes behind green lighting something? How much of it is just gut and instinct of the local team that you kind of empower them with?
I always refer to it as very informed intuition. So there's no data in the world that could tell you to make this and don't make that. You will be wrong all the time. Because really the data only tells you what worked before. And what are audiences always looking for? Something they've never seen before. So when you...
Is that, audiences are always looking for something they've never seen before?
I think they're always looking to be surprised. So there's some things where you spend some time because it's comfortable, so you can spend some comfort watching. But for the most part, what really moves the needle for a fan is something like, oh my God, I've never felt this way before. I've never laughed that hard. I've never cried so much. All those things generally don't come in some rhythm or some formula. And you definitely can't reverse engineer into it. Comes from a great idea, a visionary storyteller, the resources to bring that story to screen, a little bit of kismet, because you've got to be able to, it's all in execution at the end of the day, like everything else. Execution. Yeah. I remind you, breathing is execution dependent, so yeah. Okay. So when you look at all those things that have to come together, you can get a lot of false security by looking at the data. But I think where we always win is when we have creative executives who have such keen instincts and such courage that they say, I know what the data says. I'm telling you that's wrong. This is going to work.
Very interesting.
I'll give you, we mentioned Squid Game earlier. Yeah. Nothing in the data would say to make Squid Game.
Okay.
And certainly not for a global audience. It was developed as a movie for many years, 12 years. Kept trying to sell it, got turned down everywhere. He knew Director Wong knew we were making series now, and he knew some people who worked at Netflix, and they started talking about, what about adapting this into a series? And did it. Now, people look at it in hindsight and go, of course, it was amazing, it was scary, it was, I hung off every cliffhanger. But the truth of it is, it was twice as expensive as any hour of Korean television ever produced. So the team believed in it deeply, that it was going to be big. Now, did they think it was going to be that big? Probably not. Did they think it was going to jump borders?
Sure.
Probably not. But that's that magic thing that happens on Netflix. We have about 1 billion people watching Netflix. And this thing with the algorithm that people like to say is bad, here's where it's great. That weird thing where people started watching a Korean show that they've never seen before, and then sticking with it and watching a second episode and a third episode and a fourth episode, it's constantly informing the presentation to each of our members around the world, and it starts seeing, hey, there's people watching this that have never watched it, and then there's an entire country of people watching it that never watched this, and started pushing it out, and over about 3 days, it was being presented to everyone in the world, and people who pushed play just loved it, and they kept getting reinforced. So I think that's this interesting thing is that what we have, yes, we have access to data, yes, we have data. If anybody made big creative decisions based only on data, that would be a fool's errand.